Good morning, and welcome again to another episode of Frankincense. And I'm your host, Dave Frank. And we are recording again today from Walden Dental. Yes, that is my only sponsor, my business, Walden Dental. And we may even touch a little bit about some dental topics with fluoride. But first thing in the news is being a Texan and how I'm dressed up today. It's the Houston Rodeo, and I'll be traveling down there later today to experience the real thrill of what the Houston Rodeo is. I'm sorry for all the other rodeo enthusiasts, but what I'm told is Houston is where it's at. So I'm super excited to attend, super excited to really see that element of competition and just being around other great Texans and Americans here. Just last week, as I was flying out to Florida, seeing Houston Rodeo all over Fox and Friends in the morning edition. Then watching just at a bar in Florida, a sports cast, and it was all the Houston Rodeos. Like, this is kind of a pretty big deal here. So super excited. Yes, I appreciate the real kind of interesting classic cowboy getup as being a Yankee growing up, but I'm here and I'm giving it my best shot. So moving along, let's talk about this forever and never-ending drama with President Zelensky, President Trump, and President Putin. So now, where we're at today, it seems like Secretary of State here, Marco Rubio, has been able to broker a deal, at least with a ceasefire right now, between Russia and Ukraine, which is a pretty good thing. Now, the real concern is, is this just kind of overstepping our bounds, or are we trying to put the thumb down on Zelensky's forehead so that Putin and Trump can get their deals in order, and whether or not Zelensky is going to be kind of a version of a presidential redheaded stepchild here and is going to have to get rid of all of their minerals to be paid off, and he's going to lose all of his credibility and his country. I don't buy any of that for a second. What I do buy, though, is President Trump's consistent message. Two things specifically. Get the death to stop. Without totally remembering all the specific details on Ukraine's population, but from what I gathered there, Ukraine was only about 30 million people. From there, about anywhere from 10 to 15 million people have left the country, and now they're really just running out of bodies to fight. Their conscription levels are so bad at this point, I don't know how this is going to continue on. Whether or not we want to debate Putin's restraint here, as far as whether or not he wanted to totally invade Ukraine or just use his might to show force NATO is staying out of his backyard, I don't know. I'll never be in privy to those conversations. I'll never understand the inner workings of a president's mind. But what I do know is this: the dying has to stop. And the second point of this is, as Trump has reiterated, America needs to stop getting ripped off. Say what you will about the negotiations and some of those early travesties about getting a mineral rights deal, but it's about time that America sticks up for itself. We cannot be in $30 trillion of debt that has just skyrocketed over the past 22 years here and act like everything is fine. This is how our great nation will come to collapse. You cannot buy your way out of problems. I don't care if you're a massive G7 nation or the most important nation in the world, or you're just a struggling 20-something-year-old with your first paying job. You cannot overspend. You are going to get in such bad debt, you will turn into a financial cripple. And we're all in this together. I don't care how much money you make or how much money you wish you had. If our currency goes down, we all go down. And I'm very, very, very pleased at the way that Elon Musk and President Trump have been working together to really make this the main talking point out of the first 7 to 8 weeks of President Trump being in office, with Doge and looking at waste, fraud, and financial abuse here in this country. And let that continue on. And the transparency that is just really agitating people, I can't understand. These certain governmental agencies that now want to barricade themselves in and lock themselves in so that the Doge officers and representatives can't come to investigate really what's going on with the books. It's nonsense. When you're barricading yourself in somewhere because you don't want somebody to see something, it just screams fraud. How else to interpret that? It doesn't make any sense. And best of luck for those that still want to put up a fight, because I'm really happy to see the level of consistency and the never-ending backing down of what people are willing to do to make our country financially great again. And let's stay on the topic with Elon Musk. What in the world is going on with those that are so agitated at his existence that they want to blow up any type of Tesla, either plant or car dealership in America? It's even more scary for us here in Austin. There is a massive Tesla facility here, which brings such great high-paying jobs, which creates such other further business ventures here. I mean, if you've ever driven by that plant, it is massive. And all I can really ask is why? Why are those that are so distraught are only going to run to this violence? And it's very dangerous. Blowing up a lithium battery like that in either a Tesla plant or in a car dealership, that's really scary, because that explosion is going to go far beyond the reaches of the 2,500 square foot commercial space that a Tesla dealership has. And let's go to the questions of what is your aim? What is your objective? What is your end goal? Of if we just keep blowing things up, we'll just let Elon Musk go away? Or maybe he'll get to Mars sooner and then leave us alone to rot in our own financial fraud and waste and other disasters? The concept of this particular party or particular political ideology that is all about oppressor and oppressed, and we're so oppressed by Elon Musk, we've got to blow up the oppressor's facilities. You're only damaging people that either want to buy vehicles that are allegedly better for the planet, or the workers trying to make sure that those vehicles are operating well and that those can afford to purchase these vehicles. You're not doing anything to make this country better. It's this active destruction. The irony and really patheticness about this is listening to some of the commentators on other liberal media sources trying to compare the Tesla activists, the Tesla thugs, with those that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. I don't even want to necessarily deign a response to that, but trying to understand how they wanted to throw that comparison was pathetic. Highly pathetic. It's an embarrassment. And their ratings continue to show that week over week, month over month, and it's coming to it year over year. Then they're eating their own again. From a few weeks ago where Joy Reid was left, I think the next on the chopping block will probably be Rachel Maddow. And for those that are sane, likely to say good riddance. So, in other news, moving along as we get more worried and concerned about instability, let's talk about the impacts of tariffs. Yeah, the market has taken a pretty significant hit over the past 4 weeks. I know I can really feel that pain point. But I'm not ready to throw in the towel to say that tariffs were such a bad idea. Even reading The Economist magazine and poo-pooing all this and how it's going to create such economic strife worldwide, I still think there is a significant point to what President Trump is trying to make. If nothing else, if America needs to be stopped getting ripped off. And as we're at here, March 20th, we are seeing a continued rise in the stock market. So maybe this self-correction is exactly what we needed. And to make these precedents that all of these other free trade deals that we had going on from basically the early 90s onward has not panned out the way the global elites thought that it would. Or more importantly, and most importantly, for our American workforce. Over the Biden administration, particular numbers that I don't have offhand were otherwise essentially saying about 10,000 manufactured jobs were lost month over month in America. But now since President Trump has been in office, we are bringing those manufacturing jobs right back. And that's incredibly important. It's incredibly important for the social stability and dynamics of our nation. Listening to Vice President Vance talk in Ohio at a manufacturing plant. I think it was fiberglass or something. His reiterating the point about how work is good for America. Doing something with your hands, doing something that creates value, having consistent responsibilities and accountability to be up at a certain time of the day, to perform, working together with many other workers and colleagues for a common goal, feeling the fruits of the labor, bringing that back home to the family, setting the stage up so that your children have someone and parents to emulate. That's what America is really all about. Not constantly shipping things overseas and then we can just be more creative or just consume more and more. The only thing that's happening with that is that we have more people in desperation and despair because their jobs have left. I know that firsthand in the town I grew up in, Amsterdam, New York. We were the carpet-making paradise of kind of America. And then as those carpet plants started to go down south to North Carolina and then getting shipped away further and further, all we have left are these big buildings, these Mahasco buildings, and then having just empty lots with no one having any work to do other than working for the school district or working for the state. That doesn't give anybody a good feeling. And I'm living proof of it. I never stayed in Amsterdam, New York. I came down to Austin, Texas, because I came for where job growth is. And I think we can do that through all 50 states and not just cherry picking a few key states that just have good government policy in these red states like Texas, like Florida, like Tennessee. Let's bring this to the 47 others so that we all can thrive. And not just have to feel like we have to have this consolidated areas in America where things are thriving and then the rest of us are just trying to hang in or hang on and trying to get yet more government handouts. That is never going to work for this country. And I am so thrilled and pleased to consistently see within just this last 8 weeks of the Trump administration that pendulum shift back of what it is to be a real red-blooded American. Moving on from there, some good news. Astronauts are back on Earth, back in town, and are back to now meeting President Trump at the White House. It just boggles my mind that we left 2 astronauts for 286 days in the International Space Station for a mission that should have only been 8 days. With Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams back here in America, what a warm welcome they received. Even from some Marine friends here with a couple dolphins there as their pod landed in the ocean. And it was a scary time for them. I don't know all the exact details, but the physiology of what happens to the human body when you are in space for up to almost a year is quite detrimental. With losing bone density of 2%, I think, once a month, for having ocular pressure by not being in zero or being in zero gravity, in other systemic effects on the human body. I am just so impressed that those two kept it together, that those astronauts did not just give up, as they would have perceived the Biden administration giving up on them. And it isn't so sad that the Biden administration would have rather let those two people really suffer some significant, not only physical illness, but mental illness of ever wondering if they're ever coming home, merely for the fact that it wasn't politically expedient or convenient to use SpaceX, as by that time Elon Musk had identified and associated himself with President Trump in the 2024 election. It's otherwise disgusting that we can leave American heroes that had gone through such significant training, over-the-top things that the majority of us will never understand. And for my very small recognitions of astronautical engineering while I was at the Air Force Academy, these are tip-of-the-spear folks. And I'm so thankful President Trump can at least start to bring back that feeling of our astronauts are our model citizens. And no, we just don't cast them aside as space garbage. So good news on that, and I'm happy that's working out. Finally, to wrap up here with a little bit of dentistry, fluoride. So I was in the news yesterday about fluoride and the topic about water fluoridation. Is there too much fluoride consumed in America? So to bring a background to this, fluoride was put in our community public drinking water shortly after World War II. Approximate year serves me right, 1948. The intentions of fluoride is very valid. So the short story of the long, what fluoride's doing is it's otherwise helping to reharden our teeth's enamel. So enamel is highly mineralized, and what fluoride's doing is it's changing the hydroxyapatite crystals there. And not to get into too much of a biochemistry lesson, it's giving you back the strength in your teeth that has otherwise been softened up through our daily diet and exposure to acidic foods, coffees and teas and sodas, even tomato sauce. There's a lot of things that are acidic. That being said, coming full circle here today, over the decades since we've had fluoride introduced, there has been a lot more fluoride supplementation. And really where fluoride has its largest impact is on children. Because when we first develop our teeth, they're actually quite softer. They have not had the time to fully calcify and fully mineralize with calcium and phosphorus deposits that are constantly making our teeth stronger. Having said all that, the initiative with fluoride in our public drinking water was to give those folks from a public health initiative a fighting chance to help prevent cavities, especially since they had very limited access to care to seeing a dentist. Well, as dentistry has improved, as we have become more and more capable through dental insurance and access to cares and other public health initiatives and dental schools, more people can see the dentist today than any other time before. I'm not going to get into the financial costs of dentistry and why people may avoid it, but the point remains, we have way more ability to help folks keep their teeth healthy and strong without all of these other added fluoride supplements, like nursery water, like prescription fluoride toothpaste, like fluoride mouth rinses, like even sodas and soft drinks whose water sources probably come from public water that has fluoride in it. There's just an alarming amount. So there's been a few studies that have come out about what are the implications of excess fluoride consumption, and more specifically, how much is too much fluoride. And studies that have been published from Mexico and China and Brazil show that if we are ingesting, not talking about brushing teeth, but if we're ingesting fluoride at a dose higher than 1.5 milligrams per liter, there is a significant higher chance in a causal relationship between excess amounts of fluoride and cognitive defects and intellectual disabilities in children. And that really scares a lot of parents, and rightly so. I don't want my child to have all of these other developmental issues, and thinking about stuff with vaccines and autism and that developmental disarray, and now we're talking about fluoride. People are concerned about what are these public policies and initiatives, and is that creating more distress than what we need? And the other reality, too, is to say, all right, well, if we have to be less than 1.5 milligrams per liter, how the heck am I ever going to know that? No one reasonably can try to figure out how much fluoride they have consumed through all these sources throughout the day. So here's my bottom line. Fluoride isn't bad, but you don't need it for every single source. And most importantly, fluoride is not the panacea for you to eat whatever sugary thing you want to. I made the comment yesterday on the news. We're treating fluoride as if it's our solution to bad diets the way that Ozempic is our solution to bad diets. Just don't do it. Keep the processed foods, the simple sugars, the high acidity diets out of your lifestyle and promote the more whole food, natural, organic, healthier way of living. Then fluoride doesn't matter. I've met plenty of people that have never seen a dentist before that don't have a single cavity. I know plenty of people that don't have any cavities, and their underlying feature is their diet. It's not where they grew up in the world. It's not whether or not genetically they had soft teeth. It's not, well, my parents had dentures, so therefore I'm destined to a denture. It's the lifestyle choices you made that you may have followed your parents on the type of consumption of foods that then lends themselves to, unfortunately, becoming a dental cripple. So do the right thing, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, be an upstanding American, and you don't have to worry about this stuff. So hopefully this was a good wrap up of the week. Sorry I got a little dull with the dental talk, but yes, technically I'm a dentist. So have a wonderful weekend. Hope you'll be enjoying the rodeos too. God bless, and God bless America.